Okay, let's start just jumping on in. Earlier today, I had something just finally, after all these years, and it's been years, I've been thinking about working with, trying to find reason for all these things. It all came together today, earlier today. And, some people call them aha moments. Boy, this was more than an aha moment. It's, oh my goodness. And I said, now what am I going to do with this? I mean, of course, I've thought about it all these years, and but not really that deep, because it seemed like there was no answer. It was just like running into brick walls in a puzzle, How do you get out, and then what do you do? Where do you go after that? Okay, this one is curious. I'm not going to say what it is, because, I've seen so many copycats, they're going to claim it's theirs. So, really, oh my goodness. And that's just something it's one of my pet peeves. The people who are not creative, they don't have the ability to think for themselves and come up with something creative. They have to go steal somebody else's ideas. Oh my goodness, they're just disgusting to me. And I see them as the same thing as those the sob story fraudsters online. They say they don't have money for groceries, so their audience will watch their videos and see it and send them money. These kind of people, that's the same thing. They want to build up something, and then those usually the sob story ones, they'll at some point say they're Christians and do all that, like they're going to build up something, and they build this empire. They got some nerve, but something they have, yeah. But those, I see them and say the copycats is the same way. They can't do it themselves, and they'll actually go to somebody else's channels and they'll watch their channels, and some of them even will take copyrighted materials and put it on their own, but they don't know that that's copyrighted material, or they don't care. I don't know. Anyway, I'm not any kind of a guru on the law, no voice of authority on it, but from what I have always understood, that you don't take somebody else's content and make it your own. That's like something written, like a text or something, and make it your own, or not even make it your own, just put it on your channel. Without that being a copyright strike, because if you don't have permission from the person who wrote it, or the person who made it on their video first, that was on my mind. I paused there for a while, looked it up, and like I said, I'm not a voice of authority on any of that, so I'm not going to say exactly, but I think I got it right. I'm on the right road there. But anyway, the people who do that kind of thing. Why am I on this topic? I do not know. I paused too long. Yeah, but no, I had some things today. Yeah, I was talking about that because I was saying that I figured out some things today, and I've been working on for so many years, off and on, not just, every day, but, it all became clear, and I'm not going to put it online for somebody to steal. That has been a problem for me, like I was saying. Me and anybody else who has a brain and can come up with something creative, you'll see these people, or something that might be newsworthy. Somebody who, who's the copycat type. They say, oh, I'm going to make this in a video. Oh, yeah. Right after the person who actually is creative, actually came up with it, puts it up, and then who gets the views? It's the other person. If they are a bigger channel, because that's how they've gotten where they've gotten so far, is to steal all good ideas from other people. Sad to me. People who are like that, oh, disgusting to me. Disgusting. It's just pathetic. But anyway, but the thing that I figured out is it's a good thing for me, because but like I said, now I don't know what to do with it. How do I want to apply this in my life? And what to do more not really. It's not like I have to start all over or do more testing, or I was trained in research. Both quantitative and qualitative things were a lot different back then, and I'm not doing this through any university. I'm not being funded to do it, nothing like that. So it's not at that level, but it's at what I was taught. Like I said, trained in it, and but just on my own. Did I say that backwards? But yeah. So I mean, it's just an interesting day. You know how it feels whenever you think to yourself, but I can't share this because of what kind of world we live in these days. People, it's really not all that new. The internet and such is new in my life, in comparison. Some people, they've seen it since they were born, but before then, there were a lot of people who would just do that in your life. There was some some universities would have trouble with a professor or somebody stealing somebody else's ideas, but that was kind of rare. Although I know one that's yeah. Anyway, but you get online, and man, people are doing it right and left. So back to that. It's something I would love to share with somebody that I could trust, that wouldn't get online and say, "Oh, listen to this. I figured this out." Something that I did over years. They just whoosh, they come in and they take it, steal it. That's theft. That is theft. And these are the people really, in order for our world to change for the better. These are people who need to be exposed, humiliated, maybe even. I don't believe in, so much humiliation, but whatever it's going to take legally to, make people realize, and not really, make any one person. Okay, I'm a little bit soft, on stuff, but people need to know. You got to stop doing this. You have consequences. Just stealing stuff from people. What happened? What happened to our world that this is okay? Let's normalize this kind of narcissism. Yeah. If somebody put something up, oh, I'm going to take it. I remember the one woman, I could say her name in a second, but I don't do that. Yeah. She told her audience to go and take any good topic you see on anybody's video and use it as your own right away. And she kind of detailed it, and more than one of her friends, they met somewhere for some kind of get together or whatever, and they were all YouTubers. They started copycatting me, so I confronted one. And she just basically giggled. Yeah. Because she knew what she was doing was copycatting me, stealing my ideas. It's not my first rodeo with this. None of these. I mean, it goes back 11 and a half years. So, and that's the problem. I've said this so many times, not very many, but maybe a couple of times, but you have the people who are actually creative, people who are actually brainiacs or creative, something that they can come up with these good thoughts, these good creative. It could be sometimes some people doing DIYs. It could be anywhere DIYs to somebody coming up with some, doing this research and finding some really good, information that a lot could benefit from. Okay? But they stop. They stop sharing it. The really good ones stop sharing. So what do you have left over? Some kind of slush. Dirty, filthy slush. And I have said this for years, when the people who have it all together leave, I said, no, I'm tired of this being the case, and, you know, it's all about somebody wanting to make money, and they steal my ideas, and I'm not the only person on this planet that has had this happen to. They leave. Like I say, what's left? Well, sometimes I think we're seeing it. You know, the people who then become, you know, too many of them exist nowadays. I've been saying this for how long now? Since last year, but I've been seeing it for 11.5 years, and I've been talking about it, and I've been silenced. I don't know if that's the case. I don't know why I've been silenced. I don't know why all my channels are dead channels. You know, it's not the, they call it shadow ban, because you can actually look it up. You know, why channel might be shadow banned and why a channel might be dead channel. Mine are dead channels. Don't know why. Is it because I say things like, you know, these people who are, a lot of people call them grifters. You know, they're deceptive. They lie to their audiences to get the audience to send them money. Is it because, you know, those kinds of people, those grifters, the copycats, all these, I talk bad against them. Is that why it is? I mean, I am curious. But I'm curious. I'm curious about more than one thing now. You know, I figured out this thing. Oh boy, now I'm going to have this one thing. Now I'm going to have my brain available. You know, I do have quite an impressive IQ. And that's just stating fact. I was a career student over 20 years. That's just stating fact. It's not bragging. And I actually was going to do a video saying, I know this man and he has all these qualifications, and you know, list them all and everything. And he finally figures some this really major thing out. And he's a genius. And then say, what if it's not a man? What do you think of him? What would you think of him? Would you listen to him if he said this, that, or the other? And then say, well, what if it was a woman? Because you see, there's a lot of research that says that, you know, the man, you know, they say the man, oh, yes, he's told us his qualifications, his, you know, what he needs, his credentials, and, you know, he's a genius, and, oh, we have to listen to him. Okay, but if it's a woman, lots of research on it, and it's nothing. People are too many, not everybody, of course, but too many would be sexist. Still to this day, can you imagine? Still to this day, I can tell you that it happens. Still to this day. It's sad. It's sad. It's sad. You know, just because they think that. I was watching, I should mention this, the reason that this is on my mind is because I was watching, I like to watch Murdoch Mysteries, you know, and the new season's out. I watched the third one, I think it was last night, third one or fourth one. And I'm terrible at names. I finally found out that's part of my rare health condition, which is a physical health condition. But the whole thing of the names is okay, and I've said this in a video already, that it would be very much of a pun if I said that it's on the tip of my tongue, the name of it, because that's what it means, basically. But and having a hard time retrieving it, even when I was young, you know, I had a hard time with that. But and also makes me a little bit scattered professorish. Oh wow. I don't even think that's a word. You know, the scattered professor. How many people watched that when they were young? How many people were old enough to say that they watched it when they were young? Like me. But I don't know when it came out, but it's probably a rerun, so by then, for me. But anyway, I'm just kind of going all over the place because I'm doing stream of consciousness, which is what I always do. And I recently found out the AI, you know, I clicked that thing underneath the analytics and says, what does it think of my last video, or however it's worded, and I clicked on that. And I do that every blue moon. Probably have only done it maybe 5 times maximum, somewhere in my, you know, double hands here, 10, you know, double feet. You know what I'm saying. But it just doesn't like that it doesn't like that I do stream of consciousness. That's how I've always done them. So it is what it is. I was a career student. I'm not going to allow myself to be that rigid again, ever. I could write some papers like you wouldn't believe I did back then. They were held up in the class. This is how you write a paper. You know, papers plus. I'm not going to be that rigid anymore. And I've said that, and I have been very successful with it. But yeah, just go with my own flow. Life is not the 5-paragraph paper. I actually wrote a paper against the 5-paragraph paper, trying to force everybody to write a 5-paragraph paper was causing problems for certain people, certain types of people, females and certain males. So, generally speaking, of course, not everybody, but I wrote a lot of different things too. Anyway, about topics. But anyway, I had one of those moments this morning. And I really honestly, to just wrap this up, I really honestly don't know what I should do with that information. In a way, I want to test it more, and test it in some way that I had thought about. I don't know how many years ago, of giving it, you know, doing a test on it, and see, it's not about people or anything, you know. It's not like that kind of thing that I'd have to watch out for, you know, ethics and all, you know. No, but so I wouldn't be using people, you know, and something like that. No, but still, I wonder, what would I do if I'll leave it hanging there. So wrapping it up.